was to first rank the criteria and indicators according to the level of performance. So assuming that we have all our criteria at the worst performance level, which ones would we move first? We would prefer to move first to the best performance, and also showing the potential improvement that this move from worst to best will show, will depict, will imply. And also we have at column G the averages of potential improvement to give a better and understandable perspective and comparative view between the different criteria. After identifying the level of importance of criteria between low, moderate, and high, so somehow grouping the criteria in 3 different levels to reduce also the cognitive burden, we asked also to rank the first group of criteria, the high importance criteria, from most important to least important, meaning again, and asking the question, if we assume that we have all criteria at the worst performance level, which one would you move first to the best performance? Again, taking into account the potential improvement. Doing the same for the second group of criteria. I'm not going now to fill it in as example. Most of you have been through that. But for those that they haven't seen that, I would like just to go step by step. So then doing the same evaluation, ranking actually for the moderate level criteria and low level criteria as well. And this at the end will have an overall ranking of criteria. I could show that with an example. I'm taking arbitrarily an example. Yeah. So here we have, let's say, the results, the overall ranking, and we ask to value the importance by giving 100 points to the most important criterion. So here, assumingly technological maturity is the most important criterion, moving from the worst to the best performance, and then we request the respondent to express the other criteria, the following at the ranking order, to express in relevance with the most important from 0 to 100. So somehow showing the percentage of importance in relation to the most important one. So if the second most important, which is accident fatality, is valued with 90 points, that means is very much, to a certain extent, by 90%, equally important to technological maturity. And doing that for the rest of criteria. So moving on, and the idea to be consistent, of course, the ranking order should be identical with the values we give to each criteria. And again, to make it more clear, if we see a criterion, for example, given 50 points, that means, which is half of the points given to the most important criterion, that means moving from the worst to best performance of the most important criterion is 2 times more important than moving from worst to best performance of the criterion that has been valued with 50 points. Based on this points allocation, we have the final result, the relative scores, the weighting factors, and the final ranking based on this evaluation. A graph is generated to illustrate also the weights that have been generated, and there is also a consistency table that shows the difference between the initial ranking and final ranking. At the end, we provide a survey evaluation for the respondent to fill in. Now, I would like to present you. First of all, I would like to thank all of you that from the first webinar till today, you found time and filled in this questionnaire and sent it to us. And we received actually 11 responses, and this will be a good, we think, good basis to generate discussion and interaction and reflection on that. So we collected, till now we were collecting your responses, so somehow we want to share the outcomes of your responses, show the main differences between preferences, and then generate discussion so everybody could reflect on that. So we received 11 responses, and we identified 4 different distinct groups and two dominant ones out of those 2. The first one is local government representatives. The second one is technical professionals, including researchers and academia and consultants. Then we had a representative from NGOs and a representative from the energy industry. Unfortunately, we didn't get many responses from NGOs and energy industry. Therefore, we will mainly focus on the results from local government officials and technical professionals. Looking at the results and preferences of those 2 groups, I hope you can see this graph. What we can identify here are the criteria with the largest difference on the way the different groups presented their preferences. So employment generation was highly evaluated by technical professionals, not that high from government authorities. And the same difference or similar difference stands for fuel price fluctuation, for internal market size, and innovative ability. So this could be a first starting point for discussion, and also then we could move on showing the difference between the preferences of NGOs in relation to the average results of the whole group. So the objective of this webinar is, based on these results, to somehow ask you as respondents to reflect on that, to justify your preferences, and exchange information and knowledge based on that, and then ask you to revise your preferences based on this discussion. So I would like to open the floor now based on this graph, showing the differences on selected criteria between the government authorities representatives and technical professionals. Carsten, can I come back to the, I think, yes, here.
Do you have actually a slide explaining or showing this graph in your presentation? Otherwise, I think it would be interesting to still leave it on the Excel sheet and get
Right.
that to opinions already.
Do we have?
Oh, I'm just we'll ask two
Yes.
persons from both groups to
Right.
comment. So if you could go back,
Yes.
I would like to ask. We have with us the Riga City Hall, and Inette is with us, and I would like to ask her if she has participated and what is her assessment and evaluation concerning the graph which you just showed. Could you go back,
Yes.
Helios?
Yeah. It's this one.
Okay, good.
I hope it's visible.
No, it's not visible. If you could share your desktop.
Okay, right. Sorry.
So I would like to ask Riga City Hall to just briefly introduce yourself and maybe comment on what you see here. Thank you.
I'm trying to make it more visible.
This is fine. Inette, can you hear us? Apparently not. Maybe we ask Rainer. Hello, Rainer. This is Carsten speaking. Good to have you with us. Could you comment maybe on what you are seeing right now?
Not really. Can you hear me at all?
Yes,
Yes,
we can
hear.
Yeah, but I'm a representative of the NGO sector.
Nevertheless, if you have an opinion or an idea or anything to comment on, please go ahead.
Even if that sounds reasonable to you, or how would you evaluate those criteria, the importance of those criteria? You can see here the main differences between two distinct groups, but still representing an NGO would be quite interesting to see what is your view on that. Would you agree with any of those different opinions? Would you differentiate further? Of course, we can see also certain common preferences. For example, on resilience to climate change, we have very small differences, or on ecosystem.
And employment generation as well. I see this is also important for both sides. And I think this is actually the most important.
Which one? Could you repeat? Which one?
Generation.
Right.
Second one.
The second one.
Criteria.
Absolutely. And
I must say, I find it surprising that employment was not rated higher, and even more surprisingly that employment was rated lower from local government authorities.
Yeah, that's interesting also, I think.
Also, what I can see is that local government authorities have valued and ranked not very in the extremes, so quite stably between a certain parameter, but that technical professionals have quite varied their assessment.
Right. What is interesting to see is that employment relatively has been valued highly by all groups of stakeholders. But between those two groups, you can see one of the main differences. Still, if you see the line, from the peak of the employment generation point that shows the level in relation to the other criteria, you can see is one of the highest weighted for the government authorities. So, but the technical professions themselves valued even higher. And I think that coincides with your comment on the fact that an NGO's perspective would be also to support this highly.
Yes. From my point of view, my personal point of view, I cannot speak on behalf of all the NGOs.
Of course, of course.
That's my personal opinion. And I'm also really surprised to see that the government, the local governments don't put this on the first place.
Okay, let me then show you two graphs here. One is the average graph of all stakeholders. This is the final. Those are the average weights of all stakeholders. I hope you can see that.
Yes.
And you can see that employment generation is the highest valued criterion. Yeah. And I would like now to an aesthetical impact. Obviously, you can see the lowest ranked criterion. What I'll do now, I'm going through the average weights of the local government, where somehow you can see that their weights are relatively stable and equal, which is coincides with the comment that Karsten did before. And you can see some differences on technical professionals between the most important and the least important criteria. And here is an NGO perspective,
yes,
which I would like to paste it and compare it with average. So here we have NGOs in comparison to the average value.
It's just the blue line is the NGO or it's the average?
Correct.
The blue line.
The blue line is the NGO's perspective.
In the NGO's perspective, okay.
So you can see clearly that employment generation is the most important criterion, whereas noise, aesthetic impact, and level of public resistance are the least important ones. And you can see that there is quite a divergence from the average. Does this?
So what does can we conclude from that?
Of course, we don't have a representative sample, but that shows that NGOs have quite a different views in both the most important and least important criteria. They have more extreme and unequal importance between the criteria, which is fine. I mean, it's a standpoint. It's a perspective. It's a viewpoint.
Well, I think that's normal because when we are talking about the local government, they can measure all those criteria by their own local point of view. And
right.
Let's say they don't have a problem with radioactive waste or with CO2 emissions. Of course, some of the rest criteria will be more important for them than the rest. And most of the time, the NGOs, well, they are think most of the time on a national level, and so that could explain the difference in the
Right.
share. That's my point of view.
I
Again.
think it's interesting and logical. Right. Would be an idea to have more perspectives on the results, maybe from technical professionals. What I'll do is, again, I will copy paste the average values, the average weights of the technical professionals over the average ones.
Yeah, thank you, Rainer. First of all, I would like to ask everyone else that have not spoken up yet to raise his or her hand. You can do that with the feedback box or via chat, and then I can unmute you.
So we see here the technical professionals are relatively, since it was one of the dominant groups, you can see that their preferences coincide with the average values as well, right? But then again, we can show the difference between local governments and technical professionals here. Maybe it will be nice to reflect a little bit on those criteria that we see the main differences. So we see fuel price fluctuation as highly evaluated by the technical professionals, employment generation, of course, as we discussed before.
We have a regional energy agency, which I'm unsure which country she is from. We have Anna with us. Anna, hello. Could you maybe share your opinion with us? Anna, can you comment? Are your speakers working? Hello? Unfortunately not. But maybe Nikki from the University of Piraeus is with us. Nikki, would you like to comment anything?
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay. Hi everyone. What was interesting to see was something that we have also concluded through our similar assessment that I've done, is that the criteria which relates to public resistance and opposition is very low ranked by both groups, and that's something that market actors in Athens consider to be easily surpassed. Local opposition, I mean, actors and market actors consistently view opposition as something that can be easily surpassed, and even governmental authorities indicate the same thing by this ranking.
Right.
This is something that it was highlighted by me.
So I think the results, I mean, even having a small sample, coincide with what you are saying, actually.
It coincides with our experience from market actors in Athens, and also governmental authorities that might at first be concerned with it, but then again, you see that it's not one of their priorities when they formulate policies or when they evaluate their performances. They do not consider the resistance or acceptance of the public, and they do not take into account such statements, either that is from the general public or from NGOs, and that's something that represents Greece, I think. And yeah, Athens as usual. And of course, what was already said is that the fact that we have in mind our local conditions and conditions that are evident within a local environment that influences our ratings to a great extent. For instance, by means of when it comes to radioactive waste or noise to some extent. This is something that has not been within our primary concerns in Athens. So that's what has also affected, and that's what reflects the locality of our responses.
Right. I think that's important.
Because I was also wondering what's the difference between local partners and local stakeholders and international stakeholders that view such criteria differently because they have their experiences with these technologies and what they might indicate in terms of impact is different from a local perspective.
Right, that is true, and that is interesting also to see the difference between the local perspective, the European, national, and international, but also to see differences between cities and local context, different local contexts. So, as you said, radioactive waste might not be an issue in Greece, in Athens, but might be in Bulgaria, for example.
Yes, I think it might be interesting to also perhaps briefly explore differences in the context in terms of different countries or cities within the same country.
Absolutely. So we, as you can imagine, this was an exercise collecting all the information we gathered in a very short period of time, and we had limited time to process them. But as a follow-up activity of this series of webinars will be to share with all participants that they have been registered for the two sessions, to share with all of you results, the results of this, let's say, short study, but also focusing not only on the different groups of stakeholders, but also on the differences between the local context and also national and country level.
I think it will be also interesting to perhaps try and correlate the potential of improvement with the ratings, because I think one of your main assumptions was that potential of improvement for each criterion might be affecting stakeholders' viewpoints with regard to the importance of each criterion.
Correct. And that's why this level, the potential improvement, expressed in absolute terms and percentage, we tried through this process to make clear that what counts is not the general view of a criterion, but also the potential improvement or moving from one technology to the other one, and what does this imply regarding the performance. So would be definitely an interesting follow-up study activity to see how sensitive are the respondents to these changes of potential improvement. So we hope, and we try to focus on that, to make really explicit that for the accident fatalities, for example, having really large range between the best and the worst performance of technologies, that this somehow would be taken into account and would affect the final preference of the stakeholders.
Because when I used the tool, I didn't think that it would actually affect my weighting, but I think that it did in the end. I mean, the first initial ranking, there was no such demonstration, but then at the second level, when we had the potential of improvement, that's what sort of changes your viewpoint on the criteria.
Right. So what?
So it will be interesting. Yeah, it will be interesting to see such kind of correlations.
Exactly. So one of the outcomes will be also to explore and study the correlations between high weights of certain criteria that they have large potential for improvement, so to say.
Okay, thank you, Nikki. We have also another governmental stakeholder here with us, actually from the national level and from the Ministry of Infrastructure. We have Samuel Fell with us. Samuel, would you like maybe to comment as well? You are kindly invited. Samuel has just dropped out. Maybe he had some problems as he dropped out and got in again. We hope that he comes back. Stelios, may you proceed then?
Okay. So I think if we don't have further comments, remarks, and reflections, our view on this exercise was, if possible, for the participants that are attending the seminar now, the webinar, to revise based on the discussion, to revise their preferences. So we heard some reflections, some comments, some justifications. We saw the results. We saw the views of different stakeholders. We heard different representatives of different stakeholders and different local contexts. So we wonder to which extent this kind of discussion would affect participants to revise their preferences. So I would like to ask, I would like to ask first of all the current participants if they would like, based on the discussion and information shared the last 20 minutes, to express their view and if they really want to revise their preferences based on the new information displayed. So I would like to ask all attendees if based on the new information and discussion we had, would revise their initial preferences.
Okay, I will make the example of unmuting everyone, and everyone is invited, therefore, to comment.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone is now unmuted.
Easy to demonstrate the results again, so it would be easier for us to rethink.
Mm-hmm. So there are three, now Elena just informed me that 3 of the attendees have submitted their responses. So I would like to ask those 3 if they would like, based on this discussion, to revise their preferences or not. Would the discussion added new information that will make you to revise your initial preferences? Yes or no?
Who has submitted? Who were those 3 except me?
Okay, I'll mention those names. Aphrodite, Nikki, and Dorena have all submitted the or answered the weighting tools that we have sent. So again, I'll mention the names: Aphrodite, Nikki, and Dorena.
Okay, so maybe Aphrodite, you still have not said anything. Please introduce yourself and maybe comment on the question.
Hello. For the time being, I don't want to revise what I sent. So this was the question.
Okay, thank you. Nikki and Rainer, would you revise your?
For my part, this is Nikki. I think that I would have more. I would be more influenced by the technical professionals group. Apart from being also part of it, despite that fact, I would be more influenced by that point of view. So I think that my views are more consistent with that type of group. I wouldn't be much influenced from the local policy stakeholder group. So I wouldn't revise them.
From my point of view, this would be really useful tool if you want to collect database even on a local level. But especially in Bulgaria, for example, if we would like to make such kind of a test with the local government, it will be difficult for them because it is in English. So, but anyway. Maybe if you translate it, if we translate it or anyone, this could be really useful too. Yeah, because it's easy to use and it's not necessary to spend a lot of time to fill all to answer to all the questions, and at the end you have a good results. So this could be an interesting experiment.
Okay, from my side, a small comment. I would at this stage not change anything from the answers I have already given. But however, I acknowledge the fact that or the argument that came up that it's very contextual, and that it's very it depends very much on where we are. Like what kind of locality we are actually assessing or using this tool, what kind of stakeholders we involve, in which kind of country, in which kind of region, for instance. And for that fact, I must say this exercise could also be done in an interactive workshop, so not virtually, but actually physically. Handwritten and then discussed, and I find this kind of exercise would be very useful to actually do and interact and decide upon the stakeholder preferences within one city, for instance.
Okay. Thank you all for your views on that. I think this is quite. I would like just to conclude and remark a few things. First of all is the fact that having a small sample and relatively low representation of the different groups, of course, this cannot generate deep, broad and discussion. Of course, we had quite a nice discussion, but having more participants and representatives from different groups of stakeholders on one hand and different countries on the other would definitely enrich the discussion and possibly could influence attendees to consider revising preference. However, the strong local component within this kind of assessment definitely plays a role on that, and I think we had just a discussion on the results and justification on the initial preferences, which was good also to understand the different perspectives of different stakeholders, but not enough, of course, to revise those preferences. That's one point. A second point, I think, as Karsten mentioned, would be interesting to see this type of exercise in a workshop face-to-face form. So I think we could learn from this exercise and this series of webinars, and maybe try to apply and use this in a face-to-face real context. And another point was that would be interesting to see different factors that would influence the result. So the local context, as we said before, so to see to which extent certain criteria are more relevant to a specific local context and how this is reflected at the results. So to see certain correlations in that. Another comment was related to the fact that displaying information on the potential improvement, moving from the worst performance to the best performance, to which extent also has an influence to the preferences of the different participants, stakeholders, and so on. And we would like to assure you that we want to move forward with this type of exercise and study and share with you results that would present differences between different stakeholders' preferences, between different local contexts, and also exploring correlations between the criteria of having high potential for improvement and the final weight that has been probably determined by the preferences of the participants. I think from our side, that is for now. We're going to share the information with you. You will hear from us soon. And we would like to thank you again for your participation, for those that participated in both webinars, and those, of course, that they were able to participate on the first or the second. Also to thank all of you that you sent your questionnaires and the tool, and you found time to fill in the tool. Some of you actually, they send us an email that were not be able to participate, but they sent their views and results, which we're going to share with all of you. We would like also to thank Karsten and ICLEI Europe for supporting this series of webinars. And that's all from our side.
Hey, thank you, Stelios. Thank you, Elena, for presenting these insights. I think we could learn that the capacity building is involving, in a very large extent, stakeholders. Stakeholders are dependent. Any decisions are depending on them, especially concerning the implementation of urban planning. And as far as energy and climate is concerned, this is even more important and can be seen throughout Europe. I have now unmuted everyone again, and to say a final goodbye, and we look forward to see you soon or hear you soon in the next webinar.
Okay, thank you very much.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Stelios?
Hi, Carsten.
Hello.
I was just talking to Elena, so that this is also a kind of experiment. Like you cannot really have and expect a large number of participants when you want them to be voluntarily there during the working day, right?
Yeah.
So, but this is again an outcome of such a kind of exercise. Despite the fact that we didn't have a large participation at this second event, although we received 10, 11 responses, which was fine. Despite that fact, I think was a nice exercise, a good experiment, and will be worthy, as you said, to try to test that in a real case, in a face-to-face workshop, like having 1-2 hours exercise with different stakeholders in one table, one room, and I think will be quite interesting.
If you have, or if you are going to write such a methodology up, that would be helpful, I think.
Yeah.
If you plan so. Otherwise, I mean, I think even I remember that you sent us some exercises like what was it? The wedge exercise where you have different wedges and you could diminish your carbon footprint. So maybe share that with such exercise or methods also when you send out your email, and just encourage them to to find methods that are appropriate for their local planning exercise. Yeah.
Carsten, may I ask you, do we expect, or is it planned final meeting for the covenant capacity project?
We have a project meeting in April.
In April.
And together back to back with a study tour, and that's about as far as project meetings are concerned, will be our final meeting and gathering.
Right. Would be maybe an idea to, taking the opportunity of the final meeting to have 1 hour such a kind of session, to organize something like that? If there is time, of course, and
we will see. We will develop the agenda. There are many items on the agenda which are quite project related, and due to the finalization of things, and as well for partners to understand the final reporting, which will be different from other reporting styles. We also have our project officer probably with us, so that is still to be confirmed. And but thank you for this idea and suggestion. I will discuss it with Georgia, and then once we have the draft ready, then there might be a slot. Otherwise, maybe there is time during the study tour to have such a session, but this I would need to discuss with with Padova.
Right,
so
right.
I have it in mind now, and we'll get back to you.
Yeah. When exactly? Which date the final meeting and the tour have been planned, scheduled?
Yeah. Between the 14th and 17th of April. So 15th of April we have the project meeting, 16th and 17th we have our study tour.
Okay, 15th, 16th. Okay. Okay, fine. Then we can follow up on that. From our side, definitely based on this exercise, we're going to share all the results and make some additional analysis on that and share with all participants and of both webinars and all of those that they responded. So as a follow-up activity of this webinar series.
if you share the final slides I've just seen, if you post them, I was just reminded again by our project officer that any conferences or presentations that are not displaying the EU logo are not eligible.
Right, right.
So that's why I said we need to. Well, in our invitation we had the Intelligent Energy Europe project mentioned, but we should also display when you send out now the presentation, the logo of the EU flag with the acronym of the program, as well as a disclaimer.
Right, right. We will share that with you, and we will include the logos, and you can have a check. And before sharing with all participants, partners, attendees, and so on, we'll send you how it looks like, and you can let us know if this is fine.
Okay, good. We'll do so.
Okay, then.
I will provide you also with a list of participants, and then you have the emails also from them, and you can check if somebody is missing or additional people participating.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you, Steve. Thank you,
Fine,
Elena. And yeah, have a good day, and talk to you soon.
Thank you, Carsten. Have a good day too.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.